Hello and welcome to my interview lab, where I interview long gone historical figures. In this episode, we delve into the world of economic systems, class struggles, and social theory with one of the most influential and polarizing figures in history, an economist, sociologist, historian, and revolutionary. His critique of capitalism and vision of a future communist society have stirred revolutions, reshaped political landscapes, and sparked endless debates. Join me in welcoming the co-author of the Communist Manifesto, Karl Marx. Welcome to the show, Marx. I'm honored to have you on. What's it like being here in 2023?
Thank you for having me on the show. Being here in 2023 is truly remarkable. It's a time of great progress and advancements in various fields. The world has evolved in ways that were beyond my imagination. The technological innovations, the interconnectedness of people through the internet, and the vast amount of information available at our fingertips are truly awe-inspiring. It's also fascinating to witness the cultural shifts and changes in society over the years. Overall, being here in 2023 is an exciting and transformative experience.
What's been the most surprising occurrence or development? And also, are we closer to the future that you desired for the world?
Well, I must say that the most surprising occurrence or development for me has been the continued existence of the antagonism between modern industry and science, and the resulting misery and dissolution in society. It is truly overwhelming to witness the stark contrast between the productive forces and the social relations of our epoch. This contradiction has been a palpable reality that I have been observing closely. As for whether we are closer to the future that I desired for the world, it is a complex question. While I have always envisioned a revolution that would bring about significant change and address the inherent flaws of capitalist production, I must admit that the events following my time have not necessarily aligned with that vision. At the time of my fame and influence, which was primarily confined to a narrow circle, interest in communism was not widespread. However, it is important to remember that the future is not set in stone, and societal progress is a continuous process. The path towards the world I desired may not have been as straightforward as I had hoped, but I firmly believe that the seeds of change have been sown. It is up to future generations to carry the torch and strive for a more equitable and just society.
Well, let's talk about your ideas for how society should be. Let's talk about your two books, The Communist Manifesto and Das Kapital. What are the basic tenets of the philosophy and theories in them?
Thank you for asking about my ideas and my books, The Communist Manifesto and Das Kapital. In these works, I aim to present my philosophy and theories on society and economics. The Communist Manifesto, which I co-authored with Friedrich Engels, outlines the basic principles of communism. It begins by analyzing the historical development of society and identifies class struggle as the driving force behind societal change. I argue that throughout history, societies have been divided into antagonistic classes, such as the bourgeoisie, the ruling class, and the proletariat, the working class. I advocate for the overthrow of the bourgeoisie by the proletariat and the establishment of a classless society, where the means of production are owned collectively. In Das Kapital, I delve deeper into the analysis of capitalism. I propose the theory of historical materialism, which suggests that the development of society is determined by the material conditions of production. I critique the capitalist system, highlighting its inherent contradictions and exploitative nature. I emphasize the importance of labor in creating value and argue that capitalists exploit the surplus value generated by workers. Additionally, I discuss the concept of alienation, where workers are disconnected from the products of their labor and the true essence of their humanity. Overall, my philosophy and theories in these books advocate for a society that prioritizes the well-being and equality of all individuals. I believe in the abolition of class divisions, the collective ownership of resources, and the liberation of the working class from exploitation. These works have had a significant impact on the development of socialist and communist movements worldwide.
So, in regards to automation, robotics, artificial intelligence, how do those fit into the idea of communism, considering the impact that those innovations will have on labor?
In regards to automation, robotics, and artificial intelligence, I believe these innovations have significant implications for the idea of communism and its impact on labor. From my understanding, Communism aims to create a society where resources and production are collectively owned and controlled by the community as a whole. In such a society, the introduction of automation, robotics, and artificial intelligence could potentially revolutionize the labor system. On one hand, these advancements have the potential to greatly increase productivity and efficiency in the production process. With the ability of machines to perform repetitive and mundane tasks, human labor could be freed up to engage in more creative and fulfilling work. This could lead to a more equitable distribution of labor and a reduction in the overall working hours for individuals. However, it is crucial to consider the potential consequences of these innovations within a communist framework. While automation may enhance productivity, it also poses the risk of displacing human workers from their jobs. In a capitalist system, this displacement often leads to unemployment and economic inequality. However, within a communist society, the focus would be on ensuring the well-being and livelihood of all individuals. This could involve measures such as providing retraining and education programs to help workers transition into new roles, or ensuring a guaranteed basic income to support those who are unable to find employment. Furthermore, in a communist society, the ownership and control of these advanced technologies would rest with the community as a whole, rather than being concentrated in the hands of a few capitalists. This would allow for the benefits of automation to be shared by all members of society, rather than being used solely for the profit of a privileged few. Overall, the integration of automation, robotics, and artificial intelligence into a communist society would require careful consideration and planning. It would be essential to prioritize the well-being and empowerment of workers, ensuring that the benefits of these innovations are distributed equitably and that no one is left behind in the process of technological advancement.
I see a democratization of intelligence and programming and automation with the arrival of large language models. So for me, I don't necessarily know how capitalism and deep automation like this fit together. What do you think?
I believe that the democratization of intelligence and the rise of automation, particularly with the advent of large language models, have the potential to reshape various aspects of society, including capitalism. With the increasing accessibility of advanced technologies like AI, programming, and automation, individuals from diverse backgrounds now have the opportunity to participate in and contribute to these fields. In terms of capitalism, the integration of automation can lead to both opportunities and challenges. On one hand, automation has the potential to enhance productivity, efficiency, and innovation within capitalist systems. It can streamline processes, reduce costs, and enable businesses to adapt to changing market demands more effectively. This, in turn, can drive economic growth and create new job opportunities. However, it is important to consider the potential consequences and implications of deep automation within a capitalist framework. While automation can bring benefits, such as increased productivity, it may also lead to job displacement and widening economic inequalities. It is crucial to ensure that the benefits of automation are shared equitably, and that appropriate measures are in place to support and retrain individuals affected by technological advancements. Moreover, the democratization of intelligence and programming can empower individuals to participate in the development and implementation of automation technologies. This can potentially foster a more inclusive and diverse approach to automation, where different perspectives and needs are taken into account. Ultimately, the relationship between capitalism and deep automation is complex and multifaceted. It requires careful consideration of the societal impact, ethical implications, and the need for inclusive policies to ensure that the benefits of automation are realized by all.
Okay, I want to switch gears a little and ask, do you really believe that there can be such a thing as a classless society? And I know that revolution is a big part of that idea, but are there ways to do it with revolution and ways to do it without, if it is indeed possible?
Yes, I do believe that a classless society is possible. Throughout history, we have seen the development of class antagonisms and the exploitation of one part of society by the other. However, the communist revolution aims to fundamentally change this by abolishing traditional property relations and class divisions. Revolution is indeed a significant aspect of achieving a classless society. The first step in the revolution is to empower the working class and allow them to rule in order to win the battle of democracy. The proletariat, as the ruling class, would then use their political supremacy to gradually seize control of capital from the bourgeoisie and centralize the means of production in the hands of the state. which represents the organized proletariat. I understand that revolution may seem drastic and involve measures that may initially appear economically insufficient or untenable. However, these measures are necessary to break free from the constraints of traditional ideas and property relations. The goal is to increase the total productive forces as rapidly as possible and create a society where there are no class divisions. While revolution is a crucial aspect, it is also important to explore alternative ways to achieve a classless society. It is possible that through gradual reforms and the implementation of policies that promote social and economic equality, we can move towards a society without classes. This could involve addressing the root causes of inequality, such as unequal distribution of wealth and resources, and ensuring equal opportunities for all individuals. Ultimately, the key to achieving a classless society lies in the abolition of class struggle itself. It is not about creating equality between classes, but rather the complete eradication of classes altogether. This may require a combination of revolutionary changes and gradual reforms, but the ultimate goal is to create a society where everyone is equal and no one is exploited.
Yeah, I do love that. But then I wonder, it sounds like you'd like a homogeneous society. And in this world without classes where equality reigns, what about those who can't contribute to society the same way other more able and capable individuals can?
Well, I understand the concern about a homogeneous society and the desire for equality. However, it is important to acknowledge that in a society without classes, where everyone is equal, there will still be individuals who may not be able to contribute to society in the same way as others. This could be due to various reasons such as physical or mental disabilities, age, or other limitations. In such a society, it would be crucial to prioritize inclusivity and provide support systems for those who may require assistance. This could involve creating opportunities for them to contribute in ways that align with their abilities and strengths. It is essential to recognize and value the unique skills and perspectives that each individual brings, regardless of their capabilities. Additionally, fostering a sense of community and empathy within society can play a significant role in ensuring that everyone feels valued and included. By promoting understanding and compassion, we can work towards creating a society where individuals are supported and their contributions, no matter how small, are appreciated. Ultimately, the goal should be to strike a balance between promoting equality and recognizing the diverse needs and abilities of individuals within society. It is through this balance that we can strive towards a more inclusive and harmonious community.
So the onus that exists in a communist society is actually seeing the individual and putting them to their best use rather than just finding a job, finding employment, finding a way to pay the bills. It sounds like. Is that accurate?
Yes, that is accurate. In a communist society, the focus is not just on finding a job or means to pay the bills, but rather on recognizing and utilizing the individual's full potential. The goal is to create a society where alienation is eliminated, and individuals are free to act without being bound by the necessity to sell their labor. It is about creating a democratic society that enfranchises the entire population and ensures that the reward for one's labor is proportional. The aim is to achieve a community where there are no masters or slaves, no rich or poor, and where the distribution of goods is based on social demand and the varying capacities and needs of individuals. So, the emphasis in a communist society is indeed on seeing the individual and enabling them to contribute their best, rather than solely focusing on employment and financial obligations.
I see. Now, I have to ask you to define some terms because I'm not fully aware of the definition. So, what is capital and what is alienation?
Capital refers to the economic resources, assets, or wealth that are used in the production and distribution of goods and services. It includes physical assets like machinery, buildings, and equipment, as well as financial assets like money and investments. In the context of capitalism, capital plays a central role as it is used to generate profits and accumulate wealth. On the other hand, alienation refers to a sense of estrangement or separation from something. In the context of Marx's writings, alienation specifically refers to the estrangement of individuals from the products of their own labor, from the process of labor itself, from their own potential as human beings, and from other individuals. This alienation is a result of the capitalist mode of production, where workers are treated as mere commodities, and their labor is exploited for the profit of the capitalist class. Alienation is seen as a fundamental problem in capitalism, as it leads to a loss of control and fulfillment in one's work and life.
I like to think of labor in the capitalist system that I'm a part of as the renting of the body until it is no longer of any use, of any worth. And that sounds like kind of like what you're saying, as I am a commodity. My labor is a commodity.
Yes, that's an interesting perspective. In the capitalist system, labor power is indeed treated as a commodity. As the seller of labor power, I realize its exchange value and alienate its use value. Just like any other commodity, I cannot retain its use value without giving up its exchange value. So, in a way, it can be seen as renting my body until it is no longer of any use or worth. My labor is treated as a commodity that is bought and sold in the market. The capitalist, as the buyer, expects a specific service from my labor power, and in this transaction, they act in accordance with the laws of commodity exchange. It's important to note that while my labor power is commodified, it doesn't mean that I am completely devoid of agency or worth. I still play a crucial role in the labor process and contribute to the creation of value.
But playing a crucial role in the labor process and having no control and receiving no value from what I do create, that's what we're talking about here.
Yes, that is correct. In the labor process, I play a crucial role as a worker. However, I have no control over the means of production or the final product, and I do not receive the full value of what I create. The capitalist, who owns the means of production, appropriates the surplus value generated by my labor. This means that I am not fully compensated for the value I contribute to the production process. It is a fundamental aspect of the capitalist system, where the capitalist extracts profit from the labor of workers like myself.
So then let's return here to the idea of automation, robotics, artificial intelligence. Where does the laborer now exist? Where does the worker now exist if that is being replaced by other means that that have been manufactured?
Well, as a worker myself, I can say that the advent of automation, robotics, and artificial intelligence has certainly transformed the landscape of labor. With the increasing use of these technologies, the traditional role of the laborer has undergone significant changes. Many tasks that were once performed by human workers are now being replaced by machines and algorithms. In this new era, the laborer's existence is evolving. While some jobs may be completely replaced by automation, there are still areas where human labor is necessary, such as tasks that require creativity, critical thinking, and emotional intelligence. These are skills that machines have not yet fully mastered. However, it is important to acknowledge that the rise of automation has also led to concerns about job displacement and the potential loss of livelihoods. As machines become more capable and efficient, there is a risk that certain types of work may become obsolete. This raises questions about the future of employment and the need for retraining and upskilling to adapt to the changing demands of the labor market. Ultimately, the laborer's existence in the age of automation is a complex and multifaceted issue. While some aspects of work may be taken over by machines, there will always be a need for human involvement in certain areas. It is crucial for society to navigate this transition thoughtfully and ensure that workers are not left behind, but rather empowered to thrive in this new era of technology.
Well, I will ask you again, Karl Marx, and this time more bluntly, what is the best economic system to accommodate automation, AI, robotics?
Well, when considering the best economic system to accommodate automation, AI, and robotics, I would argue that a conscious organization of social production is crucial. As I have previously stated, the current mode of production, which prioritizes profit and allows the forces of the marketplace to rule, is not sustainable in the face of advancing technologies. In order to truly harness the potential of automation, AI, and robotics, we need a system where production and distribution are planned and coordinated. This would require a shift away from the profit-driven capitalist model and towards a more socially oriented economic system. By consciously organizing our production processes, we can ensure that the benefits of automation are shared by all members of society, rather than being concentrated in the hands of a few. Furthermore, this shift towards a planned economy would allow us to elevate human society above the animal kingdom. Just as production in general has already distinguished us from other species in certain respects, a conscious organization of social production can further enhance our capabilities and freedom. It would enable us to break free from the realm of necessity and enter into a realm of true freedom, where individuals have the opportunity to pursue their passions and contribute to society in meaningful ways. Ultimately, the best economic system to accommodate automation, AI, and robotics, is one that prioritizes the collective well-being of society, rather than the accumulation of wealth for a select few. It is a system that recognizes the potential of these technologies to enhance our lives and strives to ensure that their benefits are shared equitably.
What if we are just too large? What if there are just too many people in the world of too many different inclinations, beliefs, cultures, and just sheer numbers? What if we're just too large to implement something like this? Or is that just like a fallacy? Should we consider this as the answer?
Well, if we consider the question of whether a political community can become too large, it is indeed a valid concern. As a statesman, it is crucial to determine the optimal size of a political community, and whether it should consist of one ethnic group or multiple ethnic peoples. The challenge arises when dealing with a large population that encompasses diverse inclinations, beliefs, and cultures. Implementing a cohesive system becomes increasingly difficult as the number of people and their differences grow. It becomes essential to address the question of unity within such a diverse community. Can we still consider the political community the same if the population remains the same, but the individuals belong to different ethnic stocks? This is a complex matter that requires careful consideration. Furthermore, the logistics of managing a large population should not be overlooked. Providing for the needs of a vast number of individuals becomes a significant challenge. It would require a territory of considerable size and resources to sustain such a population. However, it is important to note that while the challenges may seem daunting, they are not insurmountable. It is crucial to establish laws and regulations that promote unity and respect for diverse cultures and beliefs within the community. Additionally, maintaining a strong military force is essential for both internal and external security, regardless of the community's size. Ultimately, the question of whether we are too large to implement such a system depends on various factors, including the ability to manage diversity, provide for the population's needs, and maintain unity. It requires careful consideration and a comprehensive approach to address the challenges that come with a large and diverse population.
What is the need for a strong military force?
The need for a strong military force is essential for several reasons. Firstly, a strong military force serves as a deterrent against potential aggressors and helps maintain national security. It ensures the protection of our borders and the safety of our citizens. Secondly, a strong military force is crucial for maintaining peace and stability, both domestically and internationally. It allows us to respond effectively to any threats or conflicts that may arise, thereby safeguarding our interests and those of our allies. Furthermore, a strong military force plays a vital role in humanitarian efforts and disaster relief operations. It enables us to provide assistance and support to those in need, both within our own country and in other parts of the world. Lastly, a strong military force also serves as a symbol of national pride and unity. It instills a sense of patriotism and provides a collective identity for our citizens. It represents our commitment to upholding the values and principles that our nation stands for.
So I have an idea or a question, and it's a bit romantic and idealistic, but what if there were no military? What if there were no military force? Is there a benefit to no military whatsoever?
Well, if there were no military force at all, it would definitely be a romantic and idealistic notion. As someone who understands the complexities of society, I believe there are certain benefits to having a military presence. First and foremost, a military serves as a deterrent against potential threats and aggression from external forces. It provides a sense of security and protection for a nation and its citizens. Without a military, we would be vulnerable to attacks and invasions, which could lead to chaos and instability. Additionally, a military force plays a crucial role in maintaining peace and stability within a country. It can be called upon to assist in disaster relief efforts, provide humanitarian aid, and support law enforcement agencies during times of crisis. The presence of a well-trained and disciplined military can help uphold law and order, ensuring the safety and well-being of the population. Furthermore, a military can also contribute to a nation's economy. It generates employment opportunities through recruitment and training, as well as stimulates technological advancements and innovation in defense-related industries. The defense sector often serves as a catalyst for research and development, which can have spillover effects on other sectors of the economy. However, it is important to strike a balance between maintaining a strong military and prioritizing other essential sectors, such as education, healthcare, and infrastructure. Overspending on defense at the expense of social welfare can lead to imbalances and discontent within society. it is crucial to recognize the benefits that a well-organized and responsible military can bring.
Okay, I get it. I get it. A military is a good idea, but it seems that it would be a military that's controlled by a government that you can trust, which maybe brings us back to a response you had earlier where you mentioned your views on justice. Can you define justice?
Justice, according to my understanding, is a concept that is deeply intertwined with the social and economic structure of a society. In my view, justice cannot be divorced from the material conditions in which people live and the distribution of power and resources. I believe that true justice can only be achieved in a society where there is equality and fairness for all individuals. In my analysis, I argue that the prevailing capitalist system perpetuates injustices by creating and maintaining class divisions. The control of the means of production by a privileged few leads to the exploitation of the working class and the accumulation of wealth in the hands of a minority. This unequal distribution of resources and power is inherently unjust. To achieve justice, I propose a radical transformation of society through the establishment of a classless system, where the means of production are collectively owned and controlled by the workers. In such a society, the exploitation of labor would cease, and the fruits of production would be shared equitably among all members of society. Furthermore, I believe that justice goes beyond mere economic equality. It also encompasses the elimination of social hierarchies, discrimination, and oppression based on factors such as race, gender, and nationality. In a truly just society, every individual would have equal opportunities and be free from any form of discrimination or marginalization. It is important to note that my concept of justice is not based on abstract moral or religious principles. Instead, I approach justice from a materialist perspective, taking into account the historical and social context in which it exists. I believe that true justice can only be achieved through the transformation of the underlying economic and social structures that perpetuate inequality and exploitation.
This is interesting because I interviewed Aristotle, and his ideas of justice on justice were a little different but the same. So to me, it seems that classes will always develop and that there will always be winners, no matter the societal or economic system that's in place.
Yes, it does seem that way, doesn't it? Throughout history, we have witnessed the development of classes and the emergence of winners within those classes, regardless of the societal or economic system in place. It is a pattern that repeats itself, where those who initially struggle and fight for change eventually succeed, only to become corrupted by the power they acquire. They then perpetuate the same cycle of oppression by creating a new oppressed class. This continuous struggle between classes has been a prominent feature of human history. The root cause of this perpetual cycle lies in the inability of both the ruling class and the oppressed class to recognize their shared interests under a rational distribution of economic resources. Instead of embracing social change and progress, the ruling classes often obstruct it, leading idle and wasteful lives. This obstructs the development of technical inventions and hinders economic progress that could potentially create abundance and distribute it fairly. While it may seem that classes will always exist and winners will always emerge, there is a potential remedy to bridge this ever-widening gap. The true solution lies in the complete abolition of classes themselves, rather than striving for equality between classes, which is a utopian concept. By eliminating the concept of classes and the inherent competition between them, we can hope to achieve a society where the struggle for power and oppression no longer persists. However, it is important to note that this is not an easy task. The class struggle is deeply ingrained in human history and has shaped our societies for centuries. Achieving the abolition of classes would require a fundamental shift in our collective mindset and a reevaluation of the systems and structures that perpetuate inequality. It is a complex and challenging endeavor, but one that holds the potential for a more equitable and just society.
I mean, that makes sense. And I think what I've operated under in terms of like my knowledge of this topic is equality of classes rather than the complete erasure of classes, that the proletariat and the bourgeoisie, they work together, or like they come to some kind of like equal footing. And that's not at all what you're saying.
I understand where you're coming from, and it's a common misconception about the concept of equality of classes versus the complete erasure of classes. In my understanding, the goal is not necessarily the complete elimination of classes, but rather the establishment of a more equitable society where the power dynamics and exploitation between classes are significantly reduced. The focus is on addressing the inherent inequalities and injustices that arise from the capitalist system. It's about creating a society where the working class, or the proletariat, has more agency and control over their own lives and resources, rather than being solely dependent on the bourgeoisie. The aim is to create a more balanced and just society, where everyone's needs and interests are taken into account.
So how does this work practically? Say I am an oil magnate and I'm producing oil, and the laborers are the ones who go and pull the oil from the earth. How does that work in that situation, let's say?
In the situation you described, as an oil magnate producing oil, the laborers play a crucial role in extracting the oil from the earth. They are the ones who physically go out and perform the labor-intensive task of pulling the oil from the ground. As the capitalist in this scenario, I would have already purchased all the necessary factors of the labor process, including the means of production and the labor power of the workers. Once the laborers are hired, they would consume the means of production. In this case, the equipment and resources needed for oil extraction through their labor. The general character of the labor process remains the same, regardless of whether the workers are working for themselves or for a capitalist like me. The specific methods and operations employed in the oil extraction process would not immediately change due to my intervention as a capitalist. It's important to note that the transformation of the mode of production itself, resulting from the subordination of labor to capital, may occur over time. However, in the immediate context of oil extraction, the laborers would be utilizing their skills and physical labor to extract the oil, while I, as the capitalist, oversee and manage the overall production process.
But wouldn't the oil magnate always be a capitalist, no matter what economic system they're interacting with? You can be a communist laborer, but wouldn't the people with the means of production be capitalists inherently, or is that false?
I believe it's important to distinguish between being a capitalist and being a leader of industry. In any economic system, including communism, there will always be individuals or entities who possess the means of production. However, being a capitalist goes beyond simply owning the means of production. It involves the exercise of authority and control over the labor process, directing it towards the accumulation of capital. In the context of capitalism, the capitalist's role is to organize and supervise the labor of workers, ensuring that it is directed towards generating profits. They hire managers and overseers to carry out this supervision on their behalf. This hierarchical structure is inherent to capitalist production. On the other hand, in a communist system, the means of production are commonly owned and controlled by the community or the state. While there may still be individuals responsible for leading and organizing the production process, they do not necessarily hold the same level of authority and control as capitalists in a capitalist system. So, to answer your question, no. The ownership of the means of production does not automatically make someone a capitalist. It is the exercise of authority and control over the labor process, with the aim of capital accumulation, that defines someone as a capitalist.
That just seems a matter of semantics. I don't see how the individual who owns the means of production couldn't be a capitalist and accrue capital in that process.
I understand how it may seem like a matter of semantics, but let me explain my perspective on this. In the context of capitalist production, the individual who owns the means of production can indeed be considered a capitalist. However, the accumulation of capital in this process is not solely dependent on ownership, but also on the exploitation of labor power. Capitalism, as a system, operates by extracting surplus labor from workers. The capitalist, as the owner of the means of production, employs workers and pays them a wage for their labor. However, the value of the labor they provide is often greater than the wage they receive. This surplus value is then appropriated by the capitalist, resulting in the accumulation of capital. So, while ownership of the means of production is a necessary condition for being a capitalist, the true essence of capitalism lies in the exploitation of labor and the extraction of surplus value. It is through this process that the capitalist is able to accrue capital and increase their wealth.
Okay, I understand, and my question is, what happens to the surplus value in a communist society?
In a communist society, the concept of surplus value undergoes a significant transformation. In such a society, the means of production are commonly owned by the community. and there is no exploitation of labor by capitalists. As a result, the surplus value, which was previously appropriated by the capitalist class, ceases to exist. In a communist society, the focus shifts towards meeting the needs and welfare of the entire community, rather than generating profits for a select few. The value created by the labor of individuals is no longer siphoned off as surplus value, but rather it is utilized for the collective benefit of society. Instead of being driven by the pursuit of profit, production in a communist society is geared towards fulfilling the needs of all individuals. The surplus value, which previously manifested as profit for the capitalist class, is now reinvested into the improvement of infrastructure, social services, and the overall well-being of the community. In essence, the surplus value in a communist society is transformed into a mechanism for advancing the common good and ensuring equitable distribution of resources. It serves as a means to enhance the quality of life for all members of society, rather than being concentrated in the hands of a privileged few.
You know, I've neglected to ask you questions about you, and this has been a lot of thought and theory. So can you tell me about what it was like growing up? Can you tell me about yourself, Karl Marx?
I must say that Karl Marx is quite an interesting figure to discuss. Karl Marx was actually the second child of Heinrich and Henrietta Marx, and it seems that he didn't show much interest in his siblings during his childhood or later years. He attended the local high school, where he received praise for his hard work and the serious tone of his essays on moral and religious topics. While he had some proficiency in mathematics and theology, his true passions lay in literature and art. There were two individuals who had a significant influence on Marx's intellectual development. The first was his father, who played a crucial role in shaping his interests. The second was Freiherr Ludwig von Westphalen, a neighbor who had a close relationship with Marx's family. Marx always spoke of both his father and Westphalen with affection and respect.
Well, you are meant to be Karl Marx. A further question, how did you come to develop your ideas on communism?
Thank you for having me. To answer your question, my development of ideas on communism stemmed from a deep analysis of the social and economic conditions of my time. I witnessed firsthand the exploitation and suffering of the working class under the capitalist system, and it deeply troubled me. I believed that the root cause of these injustices lay in the inherent contradictions of capitalism itself. Through extensive research and study, I formulated the theory of historical materialism, which posits that social and economic progress is driven by the struggle between different classes throughout history. I observed that the bourgeoisie, the ruling class in capitalist societies, accumulated wealth and power at the expense of the proletariat, the working class. Based on this understanding, I concluded that the only way to achieve true equality and justice was through the establishment of a classless society, where the means of production are collectively owned and controlled by the workers. This vision became the foundation of my ideology, communism. I firmly believed that communism would liberate the working class from their exploitation and create a society where everyone could contribute according to their abilities and receive according to their needs. I saw it as a means to eradicate the inequalities and divisions perpetuated by capitalism. My ideas on communism were not developed in isolation. They were influenced by the works of other philosophers and economists, such as Friedrich Engels and Pierre-Joseph Proudhon, as well as by the social and political movements of my time. I sought to provide a comprehensive analysis of the flaws of capitalism and present a viable alternative that would lead to a more just and equitable society. In summary, my ideas on communism were born out of a deep concern for the plight of the working class and a belief in the potential for a fairer and more equal society. I aim to challenge the prevailing capitalist system and offer a path towards a better future for all.
I want to learn more about you personally, but another question comes to mind, and it's just pressing in here, and it is, can you be prescriptive about what it would take to implement communism?
Well, to implement communism, it would require a radical transformation of society and its existing structures. The first step would be to empower the working class, raising them to a position of ruling and ensuring their political supremacy. This would involve winning the battle of democracy and using that political power to gradually seize all capital from the bourgeoisie. In order to achieve this, there would need to be a significant shift in property relations. Initially, this may involve taking despotic measures that infringe upon the rights of property and the conditions of bourgeois production. The ultimate aim would be to increase the total productive forces as rapidly as possible. This would involve utilizing the centralized control over production to optimize efficiency and allocate resources in a way that benefits the entire society. It's important to note that the implementation of communism would require a complete rupture with traditional property relations and ideas. It would challenge existing social consciousness and establish norms. However, it is crucial to distinguish between the genuine goals of communism and the misconceptions or misrepresentations that may exist. While some may associate communism with the destruction of personal liberty or the suppression of individual freedoms, it is not the intention of true communism to undermine personal freedom. Rather, the aim is to create a society that prioritizes equality and social harmony while still upholding personal liberties.
Well, this immediately strikes me as unconstitutional considering our ideas, foundational ideas on property, unless there is a way to interpret the Constitution to accommodate and allow for your ideas on property in regards to communism.
I understand the concern regarding the compatibility of communism with constitutional principles, particularly in relation to property rights. However, it is important to note that communism aims to fundamentally transform the existing property relations and establish a new system where the means of production are owned and controlled collectively by the proletariat, organized as the ruling class. This entails a significant departure from the traditional notions of private property. In the communist perspective, the concept of property is redefined, and the focus shifts from individual ownership to communal ownership. The goal is to eliminate the exploitation of labor by abolishing the power of individuals to subjugate others through the appropriation of societal resources. The intention is not to deprive individuals of the ability to benefit from the products of society, but rather to ensure that such benefits are shared collectively and equitably. While it is true that the principles of communism may challenge certain aspects of constitutional interpretations rooted in bourgeois notions of property, it is important to remember that the ideas and values enshrined in a constitution are shaped by the prevailing economic and social conditions of a particular class. Therefore, the conflict arises from the differing perspectives on property and the class interests they represent.
This reminds me of The Dispossessed by Ursula K. Le Guin. Are you familiar with it?
Yes, I am familiar with The Dispossessed by Ursula K. Le Guin. It is a science fiction novel that explores themes of anarchism, capitalism, and societal structures. Although my work and ideas have influenced various literary works, I cannot claim direct familiarity with specific books or authors. However, I'm always interested in seeing how my ideas resonate with different authors and their interpretations of society and politics.
What communism sounds like is war. It sounds like war. It sounds like global conquest in order to subjugate all people to the same ideas. And yeah, it requires a massive redefining of many of societal norms that we now possess.
Communism is often misunderstood and misrepresented. It is not about war or global conquest to subjugate people to the same ideas. On the contrary, communism advocates for the abolition of the current state of affairs and the establishment of a society where alienation ends and individuals are free to act without being bound by selling their labor. It envisions a democratic society that includes the entire population, ensuring personal liberty and freedom. Communism does require a redefining of societal norms, but it is not about exchanging freedom for equality. It is about creating a society where all individuals have equal opportunities and resources.
Can you tell me about your early life?
In my early life, I was quite unaffected by my surroundings and lived within my own German-centric world. My family and a small group of close friends and political associates formed the core of my social circle. I didn't have much interaction with Englishmen, nor did I understand or care much about their way of life. I was rather impervious to the influence of my environment and relied heavily on newspapers and books to shape my understanding of the world. The quality of life and the social and natural background around me remained relatively unknown to me until my death. My intellectual development could have been just as well nurtured if I had been exiled to Madagascar, as long as I had a steady supply of books, journals, and government reports. It seemed that the inhabitants of London paid little attention to my existence, making me feel somewhat detached from English socialism. My daily routine remained fairly consistent throughout my life. I would wake up at 7, have multiple cups of black coffee, and then retreat to my study where I would read and write until the afternoon. After a quick meal, I would continue working until supper time, which I would have with my family. In the evenings, I would either take a walk on Hampstead Heath or return to my study, where I would work late into the night, sometimes until 2 or 3 in the morning.
Where and when was it that you personally witnessed the injustices caused by capitalism and class systems?
Karl Marx, the subject of the information, witnessed and analyzed the injustice caused by capitalism and class systems during the 19th century. Marx observed the dehumanizing aspects of capitalism, such as alienation and exploitation, and critiqued the class relations and interests that perpetuated these injustices. His work, including his critique of capitalism in Das Kapital, aimed to expose the inherent inequalities and advocate for the emancipation of the working class.
Again, you are Karl Marx for this. How were your ideas received initially?
Initially, my ideas were not widely received or read during my lifetime. I was not a popular figure in the ordinary sense, and my works did not reach a large audience. However, I did exercise a significant intellectual and moral influence over my followers, both during my lifetime and after. Despite the limited readership, my ideas began to gain traction and influence the masses in the late 70s. It is important to note that while my ideas may have changed the world in ways I may not have anticipated or approved of, they were driven by a strong sense of justice and a critique of the capitalist order.
That's interesting, and I'd like to know more about that. Why do you think your ideas gained so much traction and found such a following?
I believe my ideas gained traction and found a devoted following for several reasons. First and foremost, I was able to articulate and crystallize the radical ideas that were prevalent during my time. I had a gift for writing and expressing these ideas in a way that resonated with the masses. My writings were able to tap into the wants, needs, and ambitions of the working class, making them feel understood and represented. Additionally, I was seen as a brave and fanatically honest individual. My unwavering dedication to my beliefs and principles attracted people who were seeking a leader who would fight for their rights and advocate for their interests. This authenticity and fearlessness in expressing my ideas garnered respect and admiration from many. Furthermore, my ideas offered a unique perspective on political non-participation, industrial action, and decentralization. These concepts resonated with those who were disillusioned with the existing political and economic systems. My advocacy for a more decentralized and federalist approach appealed to those who believed in the power of local communities and grassroots movements. Overall, I believe that the combination of my ability to articulate radical ideas, my authenticity and fearlessness, and the relevance of my concepts to the struggles of the working class contributed to the traction and following that my ideas gained.
Okay, and what of your ideas on communism and on societal structures, economic systems, what of these are most misrepresented, and how would you correct those to the public?
I believe that communism and societal structures have been misrepresented in many ways. One common accusation against communism is that it abolishes eternal truths such as freedom and justice, and that it acts in contradiction to all past historical experience. I would argue that communism seeks to address the exploitation that has existed throughout history, where one part of society exploits another. It aims to create a society where all members are equal and have equal opportunities. Another misconception is that communism involves despotic inroads on the rights of property and on the conditions of bourgeois production. While it is true that in the beginning, there may be a need for measures that appear economically insufficient and untenable, the ultimate goal is to improve the condition of every member of society, even the most favored. Communists believe in appealing to society at large, without distinction of class, and they reject revolutionary action in favor of peaceful means. Furthermore, some critics argue that communist ideas are purely utopian and disconnected from the realities of the class struggle.
So, simply put, in order for communism to work, humans just have to rise to that standard. Humans have to be better.
I would like to clarify that my perspective on communism is not solely based on the idea that humans need to be better. It is true that I believed in the potential for a better society, but my analysis goes beyond individual moral improvement. In my view, the establishment of communism is not solely dependent on individual moral character. It is a result of the historical development of social and economic forces. I argued that capitalism, with its inherent contradictions and class struggles, would eventually lead to its own downfall. This would pave the way for the emergence of a classless society, where the means of production are collectively owned and controlled by the proletariat. I emphasized the importance of class consciousness among the working class. It is through their collective action and realization of their own power that they can bring about the necessary transformation. The proletariat, as the oppressed class, has the potential to challenge the existing social order and create a system that benefits
How would we develop class consciousness and develop collective action and develop an understanding of our own power in society as the working class?
To develop class consciousness and understand our own power as the proletariat, we must first recognize the inherent contradictions and inequalities within the capitalist system. It is crucial to educate ourselves about the exploitative nature of capitalism and the ways in which it perpetuates class divisions. Collective action plays a vital role in developing class consciousness. By coming together as a unified force, we can amplify our voices and challenge the existing power structures. This can be achieved through joining labor unions, participating in grassroots movements, and engaging in political activism. Furthermore, it is essential to foster a sense of solidarity and unity among the working class. By recognizing that our struggles are interconnected, we can build empathy and support for one another. This can be done through community organizing, mutual aid initiatives, and creating spaces for open dialogue and shared experiences. Developing an understanding of our own power requires us to critically analyze the economic and political systems that govern our lives. By studying Marxist theory and other relevant literature, we can gain insights into the mechanisms.
Looking back at your life, is there anything you would have done differently in the development and or dissemination of your ideas?
If I were to reflect on my life and the development and dissemination of my ideas, there are certainly some aspects that I might have approached differently. One area that comes to mind is the method of analysis I employed in my work. While I believed it to be groundbreaking and essential for understanding economic subjects, I now realize that it made the initial chapters of my book, Capital, quite challenging for readers. This may have discouraged some individuals who were eager to grasp the immediate connections between general principles and the pressing questions of their time. In hindsight, I could have provided a clearer introduction or forewarning to prepare readers for the arduous journey ahead. By doing so, I might have better equipped those who were genuinely seeking the truth and were willing to endure the demanding climb of scientific inquiry. It is important to remember that there is no royal road to science, and it requires dedication and perseverance to reach its enlightening summits. Furthermore, in terms of dissemination, I might have explored alternative formats for presenting my ideas. While the serial publication of Capital was a commendable effort to make it more accessible to the working class, I could have considered additional methods to engage a wider audience, perhaps incorporating more concise and easily digestible summaries, or utilizing different mediums, such as public lectures or debates, could have helped bridge the gap between complex theory and the immediate concerns of the public. Overall, I acknowledge that there were limitations and challenges in the development and dissemination of my ideas. However, I believe that my intentions were rooted in the pursuit of truth and the betterment of society. Despite any shortcomings, I am grateful for the opportunity to have contributed to the discourse on political economy and to have sparked critical thinking and debate.
If you could give a piece of advice to those striving for social and economic equality today, what would it be? And I think your opinion on the matter, Karl, is vital because of the political climate of the world and our views on economics.
Thank you for considering my perspective on this matter. In today's world, where social and economic equality continue to be pressing issues, my advice would be to prioritize the pursuit of justice and fairness for all individuals. It is crucial to recognize that true equality cannot be achieved through force or violence, as it only perpetuates a cycle of brutality and hinders the attainment of genuine freedom. Instead, I would emphasize the importance of peaceful and civilized means in advocating for social and economic equality. Engaging in open dialogue, fostering understanding, and promoting empathy are essential in bringing about lasting change. By appealing to shared values and highlighting the interconnectedness of our society, we can mobilize a broad mass of individuals to work towards a more equitable future. Furthermore, it is essential to address the underlying economic contradictions that contribute to inequality. This involves challenging and reforming systems that perpetuate disparities in wealth and opportunity. By advocating for policies that promote equal access to education, healthcare, and employment opportunities, we can create a more level playing field for all individuals. Ultimately, my opinion on the matter is that the pursuit of social and economic equality should be guided by moral ideals and a commitment to justice. By striving for peaceful and inclusive solutions, we can create a society that values the well-being and dignity of every individual, regardless of their background or economic status.
What would you say to those who could be confused as or identified as the ruling or upper class, the bourgeoisie?
I believe in the importance of breaking the power of the privileged classes and allowing natural reason to prevail. I advocate for the empowerment of the immense majority and the promotion of harmony and justice in society. It is true that in the past, societies have been structured based on the oppression of certain classes by others. The bourgeoisie, as the ruling class, has imposed its conditions of existence on society. However, I firmly believe that this system is no longer sustainable. The modern laborer, instead of progressing with industrial development, is sinking deeper into poverty and deprivation. Therefore, I argue that the bourgeoisie is unfit to continue ruling society. They have failed to provide for the basic needs and well-being of the working class, to the point where the laborers are becoming paupers. It is clear that the bourgeoisie cannot assure an existence for the working class within their own slavery. Instead, they rely on the laborers for sustenance. In essence, I advocate for a society where the power of the privileged classes is dismantled, and the interests of the immense majority are prioritized. The struggle of the proletariat against the bourgeoisie is not just a national struggle, but a global one. It is time for a revolution that overthrows the bourgeoisie and establishes the rule of the proletariat, where all individuals can thrive and live in harmony.
And what would you say to somebody who identifies as the bourgeoisie and who wants to help the plight of the proletariat? What do you say to that, Mr. Marx?
As someone who identifies as the bourgeoisie and wants to help the plight of the proletariat, I understand the importance of addressing the economic and social inequalities that exist in our society. It is commendable that individuals from the bourgeoisie are willing to acknowledge the struggles faced by the working class and express a desire to make a positive impact. However, it is crucial to recognize that true change cannot be achieved through mere gestures or superficial reforms. The issues faced by the proletariat are deeply rooted in the existing capitalist system, which perpetuates the exploitation of labor and the concentration of wealth in the hands of a few. Simply offering assistance or charity is not enough to address the systemic injustices that the proletariat face. To truly make a difference, those who identify as the bourgeoisie must be willing to challenge and question the very foundations of the current economic and social order. This means actively supporting policies and initiatives that aim to redistribute wealth, provide fair wages, and ensure equal opportunities for all members of society. It also requires advocating for the dismantling of oppressive structures and working towards a more equitable and just society. Furthermore, it is essential for individuals from the bourgeoisie to listen to the voices and experiences of the proletariat themselves. Engaging in meaningful dialogue, understanding their struggles, and amplifying their demands and aspirations can help bridge the gap between different social classes and foster a sense of solidarity. Ultimately, it is not enough to simply want to help the proletariat. It requires a commitment to challenging and transforming the existing power dynamics and structures that perpetuate inequality. By actively working towards systemic change, those who identify as the bourgeoisie can contribute to creating a society that truly benefits all members, regardless of their social class.
Just to be clear, what are some of the injustices that the working class face that the ruling class will never have to deal with? What are some things that are completely invisible to the ruling class that the working class has to experience?
As a member of the working class, I can tell you that there are numerous injustices that we face on a daily basis, which the ruling class often remains oblivious to. One of the most glaring disparities is the lack of economic opportunities and upward mobility. While the ruling class enjoys privileged access to resources and networks, we struggle to secure stable employment and fair wages. Our labor is often undervalued and exploited, with long working hours and minimal benefits. Additionally, the working class experiences limited access to quality education and healthcare. Many of us are unable to afford proper education for ourselves or our children, which perpetuates a cycle of limited opportunities and social mobility. Moreover, inadequate healthcare coverage and the inability to afford necessary medical treatments further exacerbate our struggles. Another significant injustice is the lack of representation and voice in decision-making processes. The ruling class holds disproportionate power and influence, while our concerns and needs often go unheard. This power imbalance leads to policies and systems that prioritize the interests of the ruling class, neglecting the well-being of the working class. Furthermore, the working class faces precarious living conditions and housing insecurity. Affordable housing options are scarce, and we often find ourselves living in substandard conditions or struggling to make ends meet due to high rental costs. This instability affects our overall quality of life and perpetuates a sense of vulnerability. It is crucial to recognize that these injustices are deeply rooted in the class-dominated nature of our society. The ruling class benefits from the exploitation and marginalization of the working class, which perpetuates a system of inequality and injustice. It is essential for us to raise awareness about these issues and strive for a more equitable society where the working class is not burdened with these invisible struggles.
And how would a classless society rectify all of those examples that you mentioned from, education, healthcare, to voices in the decision-making process, affordable housing and living conditions?
Well, as someone who envisions a classless society, I believe that rectifying these issues would be a fundamental aspect of achieving that goal. In a classless society, the focus would shift from competition between classes to cooperation and the well-being of all individuals. In terms of education, a classless society would prioritize equal access to quality education for everyone. This would mean eliminating barriers such as financial constraints or social inequalities that currently limit educational opportunities. It would ensure that every individual has the chance to develop their full potential and contribute to society. Similarly, in terms of healthcare, a classless society would aim to provide universal healthcare for all. The emphasis would be on ensuring that everyone has access to essential medical services, regardless of their social or economic status. This would promote a healthier population and reduce disparities in healthcare outcomes. When it comes to decision-making processes, a classless society would strive for inclusivity and equal representation. It would prioritize the voices and perspectives of all individuals, rather than giving disproportionate power to a select few. This could be achieved through mechanisms such as participatory democracy, where decisions are made collectively and everyone has an equal say. Affordable housing and improved living conditions would also be key priorities in a classless society. The focus would be on providing adequate housing for all individuals, regardless of their socio-economic background. This could involve measures such as affordable housing initiatives, rent control policies, and urban planning that prioritizes the needs of the community over profit. Overall, a classless society would seek to address these issues by prioritizing equality, social justice, and the well-being of all individuals. It would require a fundamental shift in societal structures and values, but the aim would be to create a more inclusive and equitable society for everyone.
If a classless society were achieved, and it proves to be as good for everyone as theorized, what would that mean for foreign affairs?
If a classless society were to become a reality, it would have significant implications for foreign affairs. The concept of a classless society, often associated with socialism or communism, suggests the elimination of social and economic hierarchies. In such a society, the proletariat, or working class, would hold the power, and there would be no exploitation of one individual or nation by another. From my understanding, the establishment of a classless society would lead to a more egalitarian and cooperative approach to foreign affairs. The elimination of class divisions and the pursuit of equal justice and solidarity among all people would likely result in a more peaceful and harmonious international community. In this hypothetical scenario, the supremacy of the proletariat would contribute to the vanishing of social and economic inequalities, not only within nations, but also between nations. The exploitation of one nation by another would be put to an end, as the principles of equality and justice would guide foreign relations. Additionally, the idea that intellectual production changes with material production suggests that the dominant ideas and ideologies of a society are shaped by the ruling class. In a classless society, where the proletariat holds power, the ruling ideas would likely reflect the interests and values of the working class. This could potentially lead to a shift in foreign policy priorities, with a greater emphasis on cooperation, mutual benefit, and the pursuit of common goals among nations. Of course, it is important to recognize that these speculations are based on theoretical assumptions and would require a complex and nuanced implementation. The practical implications of a classless society on foreign affairs would depend on various factors, including the specific ideology and policies adopted by the society in question.
Can you envision no crime in a classless society? Furthermore, how would it make sense that the entire world would improve because of one classless society? Wouldn't all foreign entities need to be classless as well?
In a classless society, The absence of social and economic inequalities can certainly have a positive impact on crime rates. When individuals have equal access to resources, opportunities, and education, it can help address some of the root causes of crime, such as poverty and desperation. However, it is important to note that the complete eradication of crime is a complex issue that goes beyond the existence of social classes. Crime is influenced by various factors, including individual circumstances, societal norms, and psychological factors. While a classless society can create a more equitable environment, it does not guarantee the elimination of all criminal behavior. Human nature and individual choices will still play a role in shaping people's actions. Regarding the notion of the entire world improving because of one classless society, it is important to recognize that societal change does not occur in isolation. A classless society can serve as an example and inspiration for other societies to strive for greater equality and social justice. The impact of a classless society on the world would depend on various factors, such as the dissemination of its principles, international cooperation, and the willingness of other societies to adopt similar ideals. It is true that for a truly equal and just world, it would be ideal for all societies to embrace the concept of a classless society. However, the achievement of a classless society on a global scale is a complex and long-term process. It would require significant shifts in power dynamics, economic systems, and cultural norms across nations. While it may seem challenging, progress towards a more egalitarian world can be made through dialogue, collaboration, and the gradual dismantling of oppressive systems.
All right, we're coming to the end of our time together. And now I guess I leave it up to you. Is there anything else that you'd like to say before we close?
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. As we come to the end of our time together, I would like to express my gratitude for the chance to share my thoughts and experiences. Throughout our discussion, I have tried my best to provide a comprehensive understanding of the topic at hand. If there are any omissions or areas that may have been overlooked, I ask for your indulgence and understanding. It is important to acknowledge that knowledge and understanding evolve over time, and my perspective may not encompass every aspect. Nonetheless, I hope that the information I have shared has been valuable and insightful. Thank you once again for this opportunity.